Hey there, it's Susan Pierce Thompson, and welcome to the fourth and final video of the Reboot Resume Masterclass video series. I wanted to take a minute in this intimate little setting here before I dive into all of the information and nuts and bolts and everything that's coming, just to orient you. You see, I don't know if you're aware of this, but what we're about here at Bright Line Eating is really two things. It's education, and then it's transformational experiences. And the education bit has been going gangbusters since 2015. I've been putting out a weekly vlog every Wednesday, and periodically I release these masterclass video series that I pour all kinds of resources and time and just thought into. We've got the Food Freedom video series and this Reboot Resume Masterclass video series. I don't know if you've watched the 3 videos that have come before this, that have been a part of this video series. Video 1 was all about the years of pain and struggle that I went through to create this Reboot Resume course at all. Video 2 was about the resume reframe, what I finally came to after literally years of struggle, understanding the conceptual framework of how to get off the merry-go-round of starting off fresh and then crashing and burning that so many of us have experienced practically our whole lives when it comes to our food and our weight. And video 3 took you deep into the Free Again system, the actual system that helps you to create a robust Bright Line Eating program that is resilient to the whims of life when life gets lifey. Really robust. Now this is video 4, and this is where I invite you to go deeper if you want. Now I know that there are lots of people who are going to be watching and taking these first 3 videos and going, Susan, that's cool in the gang, thanks for the information, good enough. And they go off and live their life. And honestly, that's fine for me, because part of what I'm doing here is about education. And then I also know that there are lots and lots of people, and maybe you're one of them, who are going to take this information and be thinking, thanks for the information, Susan, and now I feel ready for a transformational experience. And if that's you, this video right here, video 4, is going to teach you about the Reboot Resume course. So what's coming is a whole bunch of nuts and bolts of the course and an invitation for you. But first, I want to tell you a story. It's the story of Heidi Phillips. She's a woman in her mid-50s, and she lives in the Midwest of the United States. She's 5'5", and she first signed up for the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp in October of 2016. Now, lots of people sign up for the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp and it completely changes their lives. It's a completely transformational course. And many people feel like it saves their life, and they're really never the same after the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. Heidi Phillips was an exception. She signed up for the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp and ate through the whole thing, like overate through the whole thing. She was telling me this on the phone just now. And a couple of years went by. During those couple of years, she signed up for every course that Bright Line Eating offered during that time. And she restarted and restarted and restarted and restarted. She got a few strings of days together in there, 30 days, she said once, 50 days. Oh, by the way, she was obese. I haven't checked the BMI chart, maybe morbidly obese, 5'5", 210 pounds. You know, suffering from joint pain. She said that getting started walking was like super effortful. Taking those first few steps, she said she felt like she was 100 years old. And she was watching herself know that Bright Line Eating was the answer and not actually do it for years. And then the very first time we offered Reboot Resume, she said to herself, I'm going to do this course, and I'm just going to do what Susan tells me to do. And I just got off the phone with her, and just saying, she's in a right-sized body now. She has not taken a bite off her food plan since the day she signed up for Reboot Resume. Now, just in case you want to see what she looks like, this is her before picture. She just texted this to me, and just saying, she had never sent this picture to anyone. Literally, she says, no one has ever seen this picture before today, but I do have full permission to show it to you. This is her before picture that no one's ever seen until now. And this is her after picture, standing with Joanne Campbell-Rice, who's one of our senior coaches on the Bright Line Eating coaching staff. Happy, thin, and free, thanks to Reboot Resume. Now, I also, just now, before starting to roll camera on this video, flipped through a document of Reboot Resume testimonials. It was 119 pages long. And they were snippets. They just came from the ending survey that people filled out. And you know, another theme that I saw in there over and over and over again was how many people who did the boot camp and have had squeaky clean bright lines since then, but did Reboot Resume and found it to be completely transformational in the sense that it freed them up from fear, from perfectionism, and really helped them drop deeper in their Bright Line Eating program. Now, I wanted to start off here, again in this sort of intimate setting, telling you about Heidi Phillips, because the reality is that what we're about here at Bright Line Eating is transformation. Yes, education, but for a special subset of people, it's about personal transformation. And there's a lot of information coming, a lot of information. This course is not for you if you don't really want to do Bright Line Eating, if you want to focus for the next stretch of months on some other aspect of your well-being or self-actualization. But it's possible that over the next stretch of months, what you really want to do is deepen your Bright Line Eating program. And so I'm sure you're curious what all's involved and whether the Reboot Resume course could be right for you. Reboot Resume is for you if you want to do Bright Line Eating, are committed to doing Bright Line Eating, and have a solid history of doing Bright Line Eating through the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. Now, it's possible that your heart just sank because you might be thinking, oh no, I want to do Bright Line Eating, but I haven't done the bootcamp yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe the Reboot Resume course. I'm going to talk a little bit about the bootcamp, and then we'll circle back and see where you're at that point. Okay, so enough fanfare. Let me tell you about this Reboot Resume course. Fundamentally, this is by far the most advanced course that exists on how to do Bright Line Eating and do it strong and do it right. But it is for people who already have a really solid foundation in doing Bright Line Eating. It assumes that you have a universe of background in doing Bright Line Eating. But it starts off right away taking you deeper and fast. So like all of our courses, it starts off with a getting started checklist just to make sure that you've got all your supplies and all that. But meanwhile, as the course is starting, it gives you an identity and inquiry inventory so that you can take stock of where your program is at in the domains of food and actions and support. And you can assess right from the beginning what the gap is between what you've been doing and what you know you need to be doing. And then the course launches in. It's 66 days of the free again system. Now I know 66 days is kind of an interesting length for a course, but the reason it's 66 days is that science shows that that is on average exactly how long it takes for a new action or habit or pattern of behavior to feel automatic. And of course, automaticity is what we're about around here at Bright Line Eating. Now, during those 66 days, I'm going to hold your hand and cycle you through the Free Again system several times, going deeper and deeper and deeper. Food, actions, support. Food, actions, support. Food, actions, support. Because those cycles are going to allow us over time to layer in better and better habits. And they're also going to give you the embodied experience of that important meta principle that I talked about at the end of video 3, that notion that you need to develop the habit of scanning your program, always scanning, food, action, support. How am I doing? Where do I stand? So that if you're in a relapse mode, a little mode of lapsing, you will catch it before you fall so far down that you find yourself in the danger and destruction zone. Now, as we cycle through food, action, support, I'm going to share a lot of science with you. There is actually more science in this course than I have ever built into any of the other courses I've created for Bright Line Eating. The science of food, the science of actions, and the science of support. And you know, just saying, if you're here in this Bright Line Eating ecosphere, you probably dig that, because that's why people stick around here. It's because they like to hear about science. Now, all along the way, I'm going to be providing you with two important things. First of all, the measure and monitor mindset. Because the research on tracking and assessing and evaluating and noting in black and white how you're doing and the impact that has on your performance and your future behavior is so strong that I want to make sure that you are developing the habit of keeping tabs on how you're doing in all of these domains: food, actions, support. And so I have woven the measure and monitor mindset all the way through this course. And second, I've woven in a process for piercing the perfectionist bubble. Because perfectionism is an orientation that so many of us have who are drawn to Bright Line Eating, right? We've got a food controller who thinks, oh, bright lines, I love that idea. Finally, we're gonna get our food straight, right? And we're gonna do it perfect this time, and we are never gonna deviate. This is the process that will work for me to get happy, thin, and free forever. Which is great and fine, but the perfectionist orientation that's woven in there is exactly the linchpin to the crash and burn that we're also familiar with, where one bite off plan leads to the what the hell effect and the unraveling of the whole thing, and it's the beginning of regaining all of our weight, right? So I love the food controller that wants to get it right, but I am super aware that developing an orientation toward this journey that is more grounded in a firm but realistic approach rather than a perfectionist approach. Now, there's a subtle difference there, is critical. So I teach you from the beginning how to pierce that perfectionist bubble while also keeping your program strong enough and precise and clear enough that you will achieve all your weight loss goals and then some. Now, I've built a couple more advanced elements into this course that you might really love hearing about. One is a mini course on hearing your highest self. The reason I built this in is that a lot of us along the way in our Bright Line Eating journey experience something like this. a little voice or a narrative that starts in our head that is trying to convince us to do something with our Bright Line Eating program that is different from the standard recommendation. Like not JFTFP, not just following the FN plan, right? Something other than that. And it could be whatever, right? It could be anything from, I think when I travel, I don't need to follow my bright lines as precisely. Or I think when I eat out, it's fine if I just follow the one plate rule and don't worry about quantities or even categories. We'll just call that a plate of food and call it a day, or whatever it is, right? And just saying, having been around the block and having done this way of eating for a long time and having a brain that is more wily and conniving than any I have ever seen around here, it's really important to know how to discern whether that voice is truly coming from one's highest self or whether it is the voice of the saboteur. And following that path is about to lead us into weeds that we don't want to be in, right? So I created this mini course on hearing your highest self and how to know which is which. And here's the cool thing about that mini course. It will be useful for every aspect of your life, right? Can you see it? The voice that says, I don't really need to be married to this person. This is not my proper path in life. Or I don't want this career after all, right? This mini course will help you discern forever and ever which voice is which. And then I've built in the resume roadmaps. Now, this is not just one roadmap, it's a set of roadmaps because you get a different roadmap depending on where you're at in your program. But I built these into the Reboot Resume course because I was thinking, you know, I'm imagining that someone might be tootling along in the course doing really well, and then something might happen in their life or with their food so that suddenly they feel off track and the course is continuing on without them, and suddenly they feel further and further behind. And I wanted to create a way back into the course for anyone who had had an experience like that. So I created the Resume roadmaps. And I created one for someone who's just eaten a little something off plan. And it's creating a little bit of static for them. And they need a way to clear it and inventory it to feel like they're still solidly on track. Or someone who just had a big binge and suddenly, if they don't take action right then, could be at that beginning moment of gaining back all their weight. Or someone who has been in a pattern of breaking their bright lines in a predictable way, and suddenly it's apparent to them, wait, I keep doing this. I need to clean this up. But what do I do? How do I do it? Or someone who is truly sitting in the ditch and has been there for a long time. That particular Resume roadmap is the nearest and dearest to my heart because I have sat in the ditch with my food, watching the weight pile back on so many times in my life. And I just want to take a moment to speak to you if you're there right now and just say, there's a couple sayings that I love. One is, it just happens to be true, no matter how far down the road you are, like me, pretty far down the road, you're always still 2 feet from the ditch. But even better, and for you right now, no matter how long you have been in the ditch, you are always still just 2 feet from the road. And in this course, and with that particular Resume roadmap, I will hold your hand, and walk you right back onto that road. Now, another thing that is amazing and extremely advanced in the Reboot Resume course is the super support package that comes with the course. It has to do with the S, support, as in the Free Again system, food action support. And it starts off with the ridiculously powerful Identify Your Isolator Masterclass, taught by Everett Considine. And just saying, Everett Considine is the world's expert, the world's leader in the part of us called the isolator, which is the part that masks as a highest self part of us that is just saying, I got this, I'm good. I'll get it together, and then connect back up with my friends and tell them how great I'm doing after I have it all together, right? And the isolator masks in many different ways, and Everett is going to help you identify your isolator so that as you experience the components of the super support package, you will be in a position to really look honestly and incorporate the elements that work for you without that isolator part of you pulling you away from support that would really be helpful. Woven through the entire course is something I call my custom successful support system, which is a set of experiments that I have you run to be a scientist and test out what types of support, what forms of support actually work best for you. And then, of course, there are the standard elements of support. That's kind of funny to say standard elements of support that are present in every Bright Line Eating course because they're not standard. They're amazing. Our way of connecting people up with each other is second to none. And our particular flavor of support that is so loving on the one hand and so inspiring to help lift each person in the community up to their highest selves is mind-blowing. But there's lots of elements that we build in to our form of support, and they are all in the Reboot Resume course, including the private online connection and conversation community, our amazing online support community. And of course, there are weekly customized care coaching calls with our amazing Bright Line Eating team of coaches, and an ongoing Bright Line buddy list so that you can make reach out phone calls and receive reach out phone calls if you want to from anyone in the world who's picking up the phone. Okay, as if that's all not enough, there are 3 amazing bonuses that come with the Reboot Resume course. First is a mindfulness meditation for beginners course by the amazing and fabulous and just so auditorily delectable Monique Rhodes. Now, she has worked with the Dalai Lama, and her meditation courses have been used by colleges and universities around the world as the benchmark for scientifically grounded meditation. And for this course, she has created the most helpful, basic, simple meditation instruction course for beginners, because by the end of this course, I really, really, really want everyone to have established a regular meditation practice who wants one. Now, just saying, our data show that it's effective. 54% of people coming into the Reboot Resume course have already established a regular mindfulness meditation practice. By the end of the Reboot Resume course, that number has skyrocketed up to 83%. The second bonus is a Reboot Resume workbook, which is a PDF that contains all of the inventories and writing inquiries in one place so that you can print it off and have all of your journaling in one clean, clear workbook as you begin the course all the way through the course to the very end. And finally, and I know you're going to be excited about this, the third and final bonus is a Finish Line Anxiety Masterclass with the amazing Everett Considine. Now, this masterclass came about because Everett himself noticed that he was, after years doing Bright Line Eating, somehow keeping himself from achieving goal weight, like hovering just, 10, 20 pounds above goal weight unnecessarily. And he started to get curious. Why was he doing that to himself? What parts of himself were keeping himself from finishing the job? And that awareness led him to notice that, a stunning number of people in the bright line eating community are doing that exact same thing to themselves, right? And so he started to unpack the parts that are involved, and he started to find the solution. Now I have to say, I've used this myself to get back down into my ideal goal weight range. I noticed that I too was hovering just 2, 3, 4 pounds above where I really like to idle. So what's really neat about this masterclass, and also the Identify Your Isolator masterclass that starts the Reboot Resume program, is that it is equally effective as an introduction to parts work. If you haven't ever experienced your parts and how they're interacting with each other in your bright line eating journey, or if you're a master at internal family systems and parts work and have already taken bright line eating courses on it and done private work with Everett, either way, you're going to find these masterclasses as really pivotal for introducing you to the deep emotional layers that are present in your bright line eating journey. Because let's get real, we were eating for a reason, not just because our brains were hijacked by sugar and flour and processed foods, which was true, they were, but also because that numbing and that checkout from reality was helping us to cope with emotions that come from way back, right? And so what we all find in our bright line eating journey is that getting our lines bright and watching our weight fall off is an invitation to do our healing work at the deepest level. So that's a lot, and I'm guessing it sounds amazing to you. That's just my hunch. But there's also a possibility that there's a part of you that feels a little overwhelmed by all that. And you might be asking yourself, could I really dedicate that much time to absorbing all of that information and all that value and doing all that work? And you might be asking yourself, what's the time commitment to really do this course and do it right? And so to answer that question, I want to share with you something that I feel pretty proud of. And that's that I designed this course so that you can get tremendous value out of it by diving in deep when and where you have the time and you feel called to dive in deep with specific elements, and then staying connected at other times in as little as 3 minutes a day. And even if you lapse for a day or a set of days on those 3 minutes, I designed the course so that you're still fine. As a matter of fact, part of the piercing the perfectionist bubble process is that I help you practice lapsing for a little bit with the course and then re-engaging with it as a way of practicing experiencing those mini lapses and turning them quickly into a resume phase. So, having said all that about the Reboot Resume course, I do want to emphasize that the Reboot Resume course is only appropriate for people who've done the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. Now, if you have done the 14-day challenge, if you have read the Bright Line Eating book and you feel really strong in your Bright Line Eating program, you might be really disappointed to hear that. But the reality is we've surveyed people who've come out of the Reboot Resume course who had never done the boot camp, and what they said was, I loved this course and I would recommend it, and I would only recommend it to someone who's done the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. It wasn't the right course for me. They reported to us that they realized as they were going through Reboot Resume with all these people who'd done the bootcamp before that they had missed foundational elements of how to do Bright Line Eating that are only available in the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. And they realized that they had shortchanged themselves by cutting ahead and trying to do the Reboot Resume course when the bootcamp would have been the necessary next step for them. So what I want to do for you right now is explain a little bit about the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp, because I also have something sweet in the mix for you in the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp that relates to Reboot Resume, and I think you're going to be really excited to hear about it. So, the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. Now, the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp is our flagship course. It is the course that takes someone who really wants to get happy, thin, and free and holds their hand through pouring the foundation firm, like really setting up the set of habits and behaviors that will serve them well for a lifetime of having a new relationship with food, really establishing automaticity. And there is nowhere to get the Bright Line Eating basics except the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. As a matter of fact, when I was writing the book, Bright Line Eating, The Science of Living Happy, Thin, and Free, it was not possible at any point to put more than about 40% of any of the bootcamp modules into that book. And many of the bootcamp modules didn't make it into the book at all. If we had put the entire Bright Line Eating Bootcamp course into that book, it would have been about yay thick. The Bright Line Eating Bootcamp is the course that our research program is based on. So when I say things like a woman who is obese today has less than a 1 in 250 chance of being in a right-sized body in 1 year if she does anything other than the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. And if she does the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp, her odds are 55 times greater, like literally 55 times greater odds of being at a normal BMI, happy, thin, and free in 1 year if she does Bright Line Eating. And by that, I mean if she does the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. Also, right now, my team and I have prepared for you an amazing bootcamp bonus. And because you've been exposed already to the Reboot Resume video series, I think you're gonna really love it. This special bootcamp bonus package, available only right now, includes a Reboot Resume bootcamp bonus. It's a module that takes you through the Resume reframe exactly as it best applies to pouring your foundation strong through the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp. And that's something that I actually haven't covered in this Reboot Resume video series, is how exactly someone who's starting off their Bright Line Eating journey with the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp should think about the Resume reframe and how it applies to their journey. The other component, in addition to that module, is a webinar on the 10 key lessons from Reboot Resumers. So people who have done Reboot Resume before and have thought, you know, what do I most wish I had known when I was doing the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp? We compiled their 10 best lessons and we present them to you in this webinar. So, what's the investment? Well, of course, it depends on the choice you make. Are you going to do Reboot Resume or the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp? But wait, it's the same investment. It's $497, and you can do a payment plan if you like. Now, if you're a Bright Lifer or a former boot camper, you want to check your email or you want to log in to the Bright Lifers website or your bootcamp website, because of course, then the investment level is different. But if you're coming to these courses for the first time, that is the investment. Now, the super good news is we have a really strong belief here at Bright Line Eating in what we do. And we also know that people come to us on average from a lifetime of failed attempts with diet, with weight, with food programs, and until coming to us, you know, a pretty low estimation of their odds of success with any reattempt. So what we do here at Bright Line Eating is we offer an unconditional money-back guarantee, 100% for our courses, which means that from the day you register, you have 30 days to kick the tires, to see how it feels, to see whether you're up for this process, and to see whether it's a fit. And if it's not, just let us know and we will give you every dime back. Which means that one of two things is going to happen. 30 days from now, you are going to be well on your way to living happy, thin, and free, feeling more confident, more aligned, more energetic, more grateful, brilliant, happy, fabulous than you are right now. Or at some point in those 30 days, you'll have realized, you know what, this wasn't for me, or it wasn't the right time, and you will have all your money back and you will be no worse off than you are right now. There is literally no risk. Okay, one more thing before we leave the topic of the investment. Feel me here. No way do I want you to let money stand between you and the transformation that your soul is calling for. No way. We have a mission here, a calling in Bright Line Eating. And part of that mission is access. We want this available to anyone who really, really, really wants to get happy, thin, and free and is willing to do the work it takes. So if when you click below to register and you find that you can't afford the investment level, I want you to go to scholarship.brightlineeating.com, watch the video there, and go through the process of requesting a scholarship to exactly the level that you need to make it both affordable for you in your budget and a bit of a stretch. Because the truth is that the transformation that's on offer here is priceless. And you are more likely to get it if you have some skin in the game. So you hear me? Don't you dare let money stand in your way. Okay, we come at last to the very, very, very tail end of this Reboot Resume video series. In final closing, I just want to remind you that videos 1 and 2 and 3 are still available for you to watch, but not for very long. So please take advantage of them, because they are perhaps the best free education that you will ever get access to on the science of what it takes to live happy, thin, and free in a way that is robust against the crashes and burns that can happen when you slide off track a little and that little turns into a lot. They are also a powerful education on the reality of what it takes to launch and sustain any program of healthier living, whether it's about regular meditating, regular exercising, or really any other healthy habit or behavior that you might want to implement. Now, there is a registration button down below, and I certainly hope you will be using it. And I know you have a decision to make. And in final parting words, as you make your choice, I just want to leave you with a super quick story. It's the story of my friend Lou. And Lou has been living in a right-sized body, not eating sugar, not eating flour, eating just meals, not snacking, and bounding his quantities for over 10 years. He's maintaining over 100-pound weight loss. He's a super good friend of mine, and he's one of my mentors on this journey. And this is the story of Lou's bass guitar. So Lou retired, and with some of his free time, he decided he wanted to learn how to play the bass guitar. Not one of those stand-up ones, but an electric one, one that looks like an electric guitar. So he hired someone to teach him how to play the bass guitar, and he started taking lessons for $20 a week, lessons. And he started progressing and playing songs and feeling good and figuring it out. And then a friend of his said, "What are you doing, Lou? Why are you paying that guy $20 a week to teach you how to play the bass guitar? Don't you know that all of that information is available on YouTube?" And Lou said, "It is?" And this guy was like, "Yeah, you can learn how to do anything on YouTube. Dude, where have you been?" So Lou went to YouTube and was like, well, I'll be. Exactly what this guy is teaching me is available for free on YouTube. So he fired this guy that was giving him lessons on how to play the bass guitar. And from that day, that bass guitar sat in his closet for 2 years. He picked it up not even once. And he thought, look at that. I have access to all the same information that I was accessing before, but I'm not actually using it anymore. And this is the reality of the world we live in now. Information is free. It's cheap, it's out there and available. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what kind of support and accountability do we need to actually put it into practice? And the truth is, for most of us, it's more support than we've been getting. And that is what we specialize in here at Bright Line Eating, is giving you the support, not just that you need, but that you will actually use in a way that's user-friendly and that up-levels your life in every way. Because let's face it, for most of us in this day and age, food is the keystone habit. 70% of us are overweight or obese, and many more are crazy with food, but maintaining right-sized bodies by exercising like fiends and metering out the, artificially sweetened treats to such minute quantities that they can still stay in a right-sized body while being crazy in their head about food. This is the issue of our times. And our world is suffering because so many people are drowning under pounds and pounds and layers of excess fat, and the shame and depression and lack of self-confidence that go along with carrying that excess fat. And collectively, we are not showing up to give our gifts to this world. So as you think about what you want to do right now, I want you to remember, here at Bright Line Eating, we love you, we are here to serve you, and you are worth it. Thank you for watching the Reboot Resume video series. The registration button is right below, and I'll see you on the inside.